All right, everybody, welcome back to the Move podcast, brought to you each and every day of this tour by Ventum Bikes, which are designed, tested, and assembled right here in North America and delivered directly to your door. I love my road bike. It's the NS1, and my gravel bike is my personal favorite, their GS1. Check this out, 10% off for our listeners if you head over to ventumracing.com/themove. The checkout code is WEDU, W-E-D-U. If you don't get your bike within 3 weeks, another 10% off. Why wouldn't we? I'm telling you, these things are rocket ships. Head on over to ventumracing.com/themove. We are talking about stage 9. We're making our way. It almost feels like, yeah, I know it's a weekend, but stage 9, these kids are doing their math. Like they're starting to feel like they're halfway through this thing. But let's cue ton ami, Alain. Where do we start? Where do we go?
Stage 9, from Aigle to Châtel-les-Ports du Soleil. From Aigle to Châtel-les-Ports du Soleil.
Châtel-les-Ports du Soleil.
Oh, Dr. Hincapie. It's a fun little backstory. We spend the mornings together, but I didn't realize that George had a medical degree. We're going to get into all
really
that.
Starting like that.
We're going to get into it. I'm, of course, joined by J.B. Hager and Dr. George Hincapie. Incredible win by Bob Jungels. I mean, what a story. This kid was on Radio Shack with us going back to 2012. Huge talent, but he's also had a rough ride.
Agreed. He's only 29 years old. Won Liège, best on Liège, had an incredible career up to now. 2 years bad. He had to have surgery, which I'll let you guys say, iliac artery surgery, something like that.
George called it endopelotomas.
But we all know at this level of the game, when you're going through hard moments like that, you question your ability, you question whether you're ever going to make it back. It's really tough emotionally on these riders. I know because I spoke with Bob a lot while he was going through this, and just amazing. I was super emotional to see him win today. I'm really proud of the guy.
No doubt. The kid he's a sweet kid, works hard. We're going to break all that down, but before we do, we're going to have a little more fun with Mr. Hincapie. Today's show also brought to you by Manscaped. By the way, my son, Max Armstrong, who's 13, is on the set, and he's like, wait a minute. You guys are sponsored by Manscaped? I was like, yeah. He's like, that is so sick. He's 13. Hey, for crotch discomfort, is it hurting your game? Fear no more. The kings of crotch comfort, Manscaped, have spent 2 years designing the most comfortable boxer briefs out there, anywhere. Sleek, soft, comfortable, and flexible. The brand new Boxers 2.0 from Manscaped take your balls to the royal ball throne. Who makes this shit up? The global leaders in below-the-waist grooming have the Lawnmower 4.0 for the trimming, so you can wear the Boxers 2.0 for the chillin'. This is amazing.
That's good copy.
They even trademarked the Jewel Pouch. So this is serious. I think it's time you invest in your family jewels. So let your bulge breathe and get 20% off plus free shipping by using our code THEMOVE at manscaped.com. Gee, just so you know, I also have an addendum to this from Dominic Palumbo over at Manscaped. It's been going. People are voting. Does George, looks like you did trim it up a little.
I did trim it up.
Should George shave or not? I believe, Courtney, is the vote. C-Not is the vote to shave or to not shave? She's not saying. But if the vote is to shave, Dominic over there at Manscaped has said if the vote is to shave, they're happy to send along a special shave kit and have you shave on the show.
I think we have to discuss with the HR department, which we just promoted Courtney to head of HR, I believe.
So let me tell you something. Let me tell all these guys over at Manscaped. All right, if George, you're going to have to start a new thing. If George shaves on the show, you better invent a vacuum cleaner that can pick up all this shit that's on his face.
I like it. I do want to go dive a little bit deeper into the crotch discomfort, because I don't know if all of our viewers know. If there's any tennis fans out there, we got Nadal, who's right before the serve. He's grabbing his crotch. Well, if you've ever watched this man, Lance Armstrong, ride, he grabs the back of his chamois probably like 10 or 14 times a ride, and he's still doing it. At least. So is that crotch discomfort going on? One. The other thing is apparently one of these 60-minute programs, that's when you hit the button to start your motor on your bicycle.
There was the French. There was a big French investigative report, and the other investigative things they did had merit. They've decided, a year or two ago, they decided that we had motors in our bikes. couldn't figure out where the on and off switch was. And you're right. I always had this weird theory, and I still practice it today, like that the ass and the chamois and the seat have to line up, like for max power. And so I still do it. I don't know. It's just maybe it's a tick or some sort of weird habit, but I still do it. But going back to this investigative program, they decided that the on and off switch was somewhere located in my shorts.
I'm not.
This you can't.
We
make
need
it up.
we need the bunkhouse crew to pull up. Please find some footage of LA in the yellow jersey hitting the on off button on his the upper part of his butt crack.
I know. I had so many other. I had a lot of stuff to apologize for. But I am not apologizing for that. There was no motor. There was no on and off switch in the chamois. Oh, God. You guys got me sweating. You got me sweating so much, I need some element. We talk about, we did a huge ride yesterday. JB, you missed it. It was our hardest ride we've done this whole tour.
Yeah, you guys were whipped.
George and I, Courtney and Cam, we were hammering. But I was like projectile sweating. We came across this running race on Government Trail here, and we came across a lady who was clearly in a state of hurt, and she thought she was going to get murdered out there. She started screaming at the top of her lungs. I was scared. I almost handed her some element, but this is our go-to hydration source. It is a game changer. Nothing beats it. 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. No sugar, no gluten, no artificial BS. It's the one. Special offer for our listeners. Free sample pack so you can try all the flavors. Get your hydration dialed in. Head on over to drinklmnt.com/themove. Get your free sample pack with a purchase. Back to Bob Jungels. I thought the kid rode. Look, it was interesting because there were moments where like, why do you go so early? He had that long valley. Can he hold on in this final climb, which was long, 16 kilometers, not that steep but long. And I just thought he played it so perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. Even Johan said, that's a long valley, a really hard valley on your own. But you can see clearly he probably wasn't one of the best climbers in that bunch with Uran and Castroviejo, Pinot. So he had nothing to lose. He made a big move there on that second to last climb, tried to get a gap, actually dropped Geshka on the climb after he had bridged up to him. So took mad risks on that downhill and just TT'd, paced himself in that valley. And what you pointed out, Lance, is just when he got to that bottom of that climb, he had about a minute on the chasers.
More, about a minute and a half.
Knowing that they're probably not going to collaborate very well together, and just rode his tempo and really rode a perfect tempo all the way up without panicking.
Yeah, I thought it was, then it became a drag race between him and Pinot. I thought Pinot looked exceptional, and he was just eating into Bob's lead. And at that point, I'm like, oh man, he's going to catch him. Then it's going to, of course, the whole world knows Thibaut Pinot is not the best on the descents. This wasn't a very tricky or technical descent, but I think he planned it perfectly. And I don't know if he had the team in his ear, but it felt like he had a few K in there when the gap was coming down. He said, let me go a little softer on the pedals. Let me recompose. The most important thing I can do is get to the top of this climb by myself, not let this guy get on my wheel, follow my line. Let me get there by myself, rip this fucking downhill as fast as I can, and then may the best man win on the last little climb to the finish.
Yeah, two of the top teams going head-to-head with each other. Made it even more exciting because these teams are desperate for wins. But Bob just rode a great race, never panicked, stayed within himself. Pinot, on the other hand, had to attack away from his breakaway companion, so make some serious efforts, get into the red, and you saw it. It affected him close to the top of that climb.
Well, you said it. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. We were talking about it earlier. These 17 teams that, and again, we're sort of getting halfway in the race. You got 17 teams that haven't won a stage.
Pressure, lots of pressure.
A lot of pressure. If you had to prioritize of the 17 teams that, absolutely cannot leave the Tour de France without a stage win, it's the French teams. Then even at the top of that list are the bigger budget French teams, AG2R, France de Jésus, and who were the two teams drag racing it to the finish. Vincent Lavenue, who's had that team forever, is having a tall glass of champagne tonight.
Absolutely.
Big win. And again, cannot say enough nice things about Bob Jungels. He is, if y'all are sitting at home and trying to figure out who to cheer for, this kid's an A+.
Well, this is why we need to explain why you were calling him Dr. Hincapie. Yeah. Because there's a big...
we don't have that on
when here he is, kind of just fighting to the finish. He knows he has it. Gap was coming down, and he paced it perfectly. Look here, nobody in sight.
May we point out too that he got a COVID positive at the beginning of the Tour de France, so he got almost sent home right before the start of the Tour de France. And just coming here, stage 9 Tour de France stage winner. Just amazing.
Yeah, and quite often it comes up, when these riders have illnesses, injuries they have to overcome. George, what again was the
iliac artery
No, that's not
surgery.
That's not what Dr. Hink. We got to
Dr.
get you one of
Hincapie
those.
may not have said that earlier, but I was just getting warmed up.
There's a lot of doctors and nurses listening.
How many times I tell you guys, I
Chill.
am not a trainer, I'm a racer. So when we're on the show, I'm ready to go.
He said, we were sitting there watching the race. He's like, yeah, he had endostenosis. we were all looked over. We're like, what the fuck did you just say, Dr. Hincapie?
Something something. No, but the
chronomycosis.
It's endofibrosis.
Oh.
And it's common among cyclists in particular.
Right.
And it causes a lot of leg pain. And he's been through a lot in the last 12 months to overcome
and also it took them a while to diagnose what was actually going on. For a while, several months, I think the better part of one of the season 2 years ago, he just couldn't pedal, and he kept getting dropped and going, what is happening to me? Have I lost everything?
It's very common among cyclists. If you think about it, cyclists sit, they sit on the bike, and if here, I'm not trying to be a doctor, okay? So I'm not, if any medical questions, please refer those to Dr. Hincapie. But if this is the torso and these are the legs, there's so much in this sort of V here between the torso and the
Holy
quad.
shit, there's actually something to LA's method of madness with this playing with this chamois all the time. That's why you never got this.
That's why I never got it.
That's why you never got it.
Because it all has
You're
to be
hitting the
lined
start
up.
button on the chamois.
Yeah. Makes it easier so you don't stress that nerve. But that nerve that runs through, through the pelvis, through that midsection, it gets pinched a lot. And it is hard to diagnose, but it is also very common among cyclists. I know that.
Well, another thing that's important with Bob Jungels winning is Johan picked this. This was like that. Yeah, that's his best pick to date, as far as odds.
There's
correct?
no doubt. These stages are the hardest to predict, just because there was 21 guys in the breakaway, and it's almost impossible to know who's going to be in that breakaway. But Johan, being the tactician that he is, has seen Bob every day creeping up closer to the finish, and knowing that he was already not a part of the GC, that he'd probably get a gap. It was a great pick.
And he also knows about these 17 teams. He knows the teams and the directors that are pressuring the riders, saying you must be in the break, you must make the selection, and we got to have a stage win. The AG2R is one of those teams. Johan Bruyneel is a Svengali. He's 4 days in a row. Some of these stages are easy to pick. You can pick a Wout van Aert, you can pick a Tadej Pogacar. Just so you know, just so you know, we're talking about Johan and Spencer Martin's show over behind our member portal called Outcomes. If you're interested in sports betting, which we're not encouraging you to do that, but if you do, get educated. Is it a bad sign that my son, my 13-year-old's over here like raising his hands? But just to lay it out there, you bet on a Wout van Aert on a hard day or a Pogacar, the odds aren't that great. You make a little money, not much. He picks Bob Jungels. It's plus 5,000. Okay, so everybody can do the math. You put $10 down. We know what that goes to. Pretty impressive.
And then I guess there was some confusion about how much we were going to lay down on that one.
Well, there was a little. I have Cam, my right-hand man over here, who it does. I don't know how to really use the internet and stuff, so he logs in, does all that. But I said, how much we put down? And he said 30. I said, awesome, 30 grand, right? He goes, no, $30. Imagine plus 5,000, you drop 30 grand. Oof. Seeing the douches yacht shopping.
So I think we should also break down the breakaway as well. We had guys like Uran, who was in the virtual yellow jersey for a while. Castroviejo, which we predicted Ineos and Jumbo were going to send some of their strong guys in the breakaways. We had Wout van Aert, Castroviejo, Uran. Some really strong climbers in that breakaway. It was not an easy breakaway to make, for sure.
There was kind of two stories we were following. And we'll get to why UAE pulls so hard and wants to keep the race together. I think even internally there's some folks scratching their head like, there for a hot minute. It's like, give the jersey to Rigoberto Urán. Like, just sit up, give them 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Doesn't matter. They're not going anywhere when this whole thing is said and done. That would have been a moot point because he ended up losing 7 minutes, but they're riding hard.
Yeah, and especially they don't have a full squad anymore. They lost one guy to COVID. a few days ago. Soler was suffering at the beginning of the stage. Hershey's still not at his best. So it's that I think we're all scratching our heads going, why are they chasing so hard?
Right.
Before we get into tomorrow and Tuesday, actually, if you didn't see it yesterday, we have a shot. Thibaut Pinot had a rough moment.
Right.
He flatted, got back up.
No, he didn't flat. He hit somebody.
No, he had both. This was right after a flat where he got smacked, and I wasn't sure he was going to get back on the bike.
So that I was confused. I didn't realize that makes more sense if he flatted. Like if you just watch it and you think the guy's got two perfectly good wheels, what did he close his eyes for 30 seconds?
No,
what happened?
He had a flat and a change, and then just got going, and then that incident happened.
Yeah, I think he was probably, in the red zone for sure. But you don't ever go in between a soigneur and a biker, which is what he did. He went in between a soigneur and the trek soigneur and the trek cyclist. So obviously the soigneur is not seeing who's in between because you don't really do that. So I don't think it was anybody's fault, but it was definitely not a good situation for Pinot. But Pinot's confidence is now growing. The team's confidence in him is growing. So we're going to see a lot more Pinot throughout this Tour de France.
Here's the thing. Like that guy, he couldn't have done any more today.
Yeah.
Like you can't look at his race today and say, that was a mistake, should have done this, should have done that. He did everything he could have done.
No, so
he just wasn't, Bob Jungels, got the jump and was too strong. He couldn't have done anything different or better.
Yeah, what they were saying, like he just came unglued there at the finish. But a guy like Pinot, when he's going for the win, if he's seeing guys coming close to him, he's not going to sprint for second or third place. It's meaningless at that point. He's going to sit up and try to regroup for the next time he gets to attack, which the team is now going to really try to put some strong climbers with him and really put a lot of their team tactics around him winning a stage.
Public service announcement, children. Okay, if you're listening, you're a young bike racer. Second place in a stage in the Tour de France doesn't mean shit. Okay, second place at the Olympic Games, second place at the World Championship. Sure, if you are not winning the stage of the Tour de France, then you may as well get 200. It doesn't matter. So perfectly fine for him to sit up. Let those guys go. It doesn't. There's not a podium. There's no sort of jersey presence on TV or no. The race is over. If you're not winning the stage, hit the brakes.
Yeah.
You're agreeing? I was taking an aggressive line, and you agree?
I agree on that one. That's
Love it. Before we break down the rest stage, and as we get into the second week, really get into it, today's show also brought to you by Athletic Greens. Take control of your health. I started Athletic Greens probably over a year ago. It's completely changed my diet, my lifestyle, the way I feel throughout the day. It's game changer, straight up. And all the smart people out there that are talking about health and optimization, they all say the same thing. Athletic Greens is the way to go. 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. Start your day out right. Take control of your health, all for less than $3 a day. Head on over to athleticgreens.com/themove. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/themove. Last one, Helix Sleep. How are you sleeping?
I'm sleeping better these last couple
days. But you don't have your Helix mattress.
I do not. I need it. I need one.
So this could be a whole new level of diva. We talked about it, like you sending them to hotels, but like if George says, I will not come and do the move in Aspen without a Helix mattress.
I might have to do that. Helix, if you're listening, next year I need my mattress.
This is amazing. So you go on, you take a 2-minute sleep quiz. You talk about your sleep, the characteristics of it, what's good, what's bad. Just 2 minutes, and they create you and build you a fully customized mattress. Don't take it from us. Wired Magazine, GQ Magazine named it the mattress of the year. It is a total game changer when it comes to your sleep. Special offer for our listeners, up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Head on over to helixsleep.com/themove. helixsleep.com/themove.
Before we jump into rest day and
that's
next
what
week,
I was waiting to see. I'm going to make sure you get your full download here.
Today was a lot. There was a lot going on, y'all. A lot. The breakaway, huge breakaway, first real mountain day of the Tour de France. And I just noticed a lot of little things that I think is going to make the rest of the Tour de France really interesting. One of them in particular is Jumbo. I mean, they're sitting there. They got a guy in the break like we predicted. And they have, how many guys did they have sitting behind?
By the way, guess who it was?
Yeah, of course. Same guy. But they have such a good strength in numbers situation going on right now. And I'm liking it. What I'm seeing is kind of like Pogacar's. We were scratching our heads today. Why is he sprinting for, what was it, 10th place or I don't know what, or 5th or 6th place, maybe to get a couple seconds. But he's kind of doing what Roglic was doing 2 years ago, dominating these sprints, sprinting for sprint finishes that may or may not be, important at the end of the day.
It doesn't matter. He ended up getting 3 seconds, not on Bengago, but on the rest of the GC rivals.
But you're burning matches. You're spending energy, and this is a 3-week-long race. And what's Jumbo doing? They're just sitting there waiting.
Or Ineos.
Yeah.
And then, I think if you're those guys, Jumbo or Ineos, you're like, man, really? Like, what are you doing with us?
That said, Ineos did lose 2 of their GC guys today. Hernandez, is that right?
Up.
And
Pitcock's still sort of there. They still have 3.
Martinez.
They still have 3. Danny Martin lost 3 in the top 7, 2 in the top 4. They're all right there. I don't know if I'm back there. I'm like, bro, like, what is that really necessary? What are you doing? Like, you're trying to make us look stupid?
Well, and they were there, and like you said, it's a long climb, but it's not that steep. So maybe there was a bit of a headwind going on. So they perhaps at that moment in the stage, they decided, you know what, it's going to be a waste of energy to attack. Let's just hold our ground here and wait for the right moments later on next week.
Yeah. I mean, it just takes, I don't think he cracks, but it's not necessary. And I look, I love his passion. I'm not, you know what, I'm going to shut up. There was also a lot going on this morning when George, this is how it works. Like, I wake up early, I do my thing, I'm alone. Most days I wake up early. Don't give me that look. And then we all start watching the bike race. Well, it's Sunday. We got Formula One on. So George comes down and I'm watching F1. He's like, yo, what's up? Like, his bike race on. I'm like, bro, it's F1. It'll be over in a little bit. Nothing happening in the bike race. Let's just watch this. So I caved and I turned on the bike race. And so we started watching the Tour de France and I'm watching the F1 on the side. And then all of a sudden I start talking to George. He's not even listening to me. And I see he's staring at his iPad. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, bro, Wimbledon finals on.
That's right.
I'm like, wait, you came down here and yelled at me for watching a car race. Now I changed the TV channel. We're watching the bike race. And now you're watching your iPad watching a tennis match.
There was a lot of good sports going on, that's for sure.
Boy.
But we were paying attention to the race. It was a very exciting race.
Yeah.
All right, we have a rest day tomorrow, and then we're back on Tuesday. We'll take a look at that course and get your thoughts on this.
Yeah. Oh boy, can't wait to read this one off that line. The finish I can pronounce. That's Mezev. Short stage. So this is interesting. Short stage after the rest day. It's sort of the thing they do now, but not an easy day. And uphill finish. Not a terribly difficult. Am
I wrong here? But Mezev Airport is usually just the airport climb. This looks like a lot longer climb than what I remember. I might have to ask Johan because I feel like Mezev was always like a 3K uphill finish and a flat run into it. But now we got a whole different run into it. So it's going to be an even harder finish because that is a very, very steep climb at the end.
Then there must be coming another direction. This finish climb, and again, this is the day after the rest day, so the boys' legs, you never know how the legs react to taking a day off. That finish climb is 19 kilometers, so call it 12 miles at 4%. So this has to be a different side or a different place. But, hopefully they ride hard tomorrow.
Well, yeah, they're gonna no doubt they're gonna have to stay open. It was one of my worst. I feel like the times I was most annoyed with you on those rest days because I'd be like, oh, I just want to ride easy, have a slice of pizza, and then here, this man would want to ride 3 hours full gas up the climbs. Well, I had been pulling the whole week prior to that. It was just not fun being on the rest day with you. I got to be honest, no fun. I'm actually glad you're traveling and not going to ride with us tomorrow.
Today, I'm traveling today. I'll be back tomorrow. I can't ride with you today or tomorrow. I'm just kind of jumping ahead of myself. I know I shouldn't, but we have the rest day. It looks like we have kind of an intermediate day on Tuesday, but Wednesday and Thursday are just, man, this tour is going to end up being so incredibly hard for people. The day after the stage we just talked about, the finish climb's 11K at 9%. Then you go into Alpe d'Huez. I mean, it's
not only that, they're pointing out a massive heat wave coming to that area. So, it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, Johan said this yesterday. He said the next 4 days we should determine our winner, barring crashes and all that stuff.
Right. But and let's see what happens with the Peloton-wide COVID test tomorrow.
I stand corrected from Johan, who's listening in, and he said we've never been to Mezev Airport, so it's a totally different climb than I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Minda.
Yep.
Yeah. I wanted to make you look good on the show. I'm here to make you look good.
What? Actually, I think we need to dive into that a little bit because can we go to the votes of the bottles? We got to talk about our feed.
This is true.
Bottles.
So for anybody that heads on over to thefeed.com, buys anything, you get your...
So G done took the lead. And you know what? I'm actually kind of feeling guilty. I need to make another plea to the fans because this is a new man. He's done some acts of kindness lately that I didn't even know who he was. Yesterday, going back to that story where
Can I give you a pro tip? If you're going to make an emotional plea, then you should stare into the camera. Okay? Let the people let the people see you.
We're on this backcountry trail somewhere on like 11,000 feet, and there's a running race going on. And we run into this poor lady who is delirious. She's 3 or 4 hours into a run. And what happens? She yells at us for being on the trail, and she's freaking out. And I thought, the old LA would be like this, whatever. And he goes, "Can I give you a gel?" And I'm like, "Who in the world is this? This is not the person I know." So I think the votes need to start swinging the other way, yo.
Whoa.
I feel bad leading this.
He's doing a plea for you.
Hey.
I'm doing a plea for the old man right now.
Wow.
We've been through so much together. From 1989 at the Olympic Training Center. I was in my IROC. I had Z Cavariccis and Zodiac shoes. Nobody knew me. That was the best thing we've done all tour. Holy shit, I'm hot from that.
New
that
LA.
was good.
This
Who planned the music? Well, I guess we know where our Instagram clips are going to come from today. So wait, hang on a second. I'm down by 4 votes now?
You're down now. I'm done taking the lead.
Fake news.
Coming into the rest day with the yellow jersey.
Fake news. The election is rigged.
I'm going to wear a yellow jersey on the ride today just because of that. I'm leading the water bottle contest.
Oh God! I did get a message on one of the social things, the internet. You log in. That I don't know how it works, but somebody was like, "Hey man, where's Boulder Dude been?"
Gonna bring him back.
It's a good point. I got to think about that. Boulder Dude will be back this tour. I promise you. He cannot stay away for a tour.
Hey, this is good news. After 9 stages, Bikes for Kids Uvalde update. We have a new total as of today.
Dang!
120,982.
I'm rounding up. That's 121,000.
Yeah. Wow, you guys are very generous. We appreciate it.
And again, come down with us. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. I've always loved this idea that if people want to donate and contribute to buying bikes for kids that need them, they should be, they don't necessarily need us or want us I just think that handoff is so special. I mean, I know it's a trip and I know it's logistically a little challenging, but man, it'd be so amazing.
Yeah, and this came about. We're partners with Operation Get Out and Wish for Wheels, which you're involved in. Operation Get Out uses outdoor activities, water, mountain bikes to get people outside. Healthy mind. It's gonna be good for these kids. Some shout outs to some donors here, real quick, from WeDo.team. That's where you can find the link. Kenneth Gallardo bought a couple bikes. Mike Perry bought 4 bikes. Dennis Anderson with 4 bikes. Bruce Malloy, appreciate it. Michael Martz, I saw one on here. Steve McConnell, picking up 10 bikes.
Jeez.
Thank you, Steve.
Steve for the win today.
Tad Page, 4 bikes. Again, WeDo.team, you'll see Bikes for Kids Uvalde at the top, and we appreciate you donating.
Amazing.
All right, we're getting there. Getting there.
Yeah, we're going to get there.
And we'd love to see you in Uvalde, too. We'll orchestrate what that looks like to hang out and do all of that.
No, we'll do a thing.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's got a few emails here. Longtime listener, never miss an episode of The Move or JB Squared. Yesterday, Stage 8, Lance mentioned that 3 white jerseys in a row for Pogacar may be a record. I wanted to remind him of his good friend Jan Ulrich, who won 3 in a row, as well as his buddy Andy Schleck.
Wow.
Did that too.
It shows you how old you're getting when you don't remember thinking that was a record.
I know that's cool. I didn't know that.
By the way, all legends. All legends already.
Alec, thanks for that, pointing that out. Lance and George, love listening to The Move and JB Squared. I see on socials that you guys are getting out on the bike a lot. My question is, if you guys were in the Peloton today, at your current age and condition, could you make it to Paris, time cuts and all?
Nope.
That's from Stefan.
I don't think so.
You don't think you could finish it? Well, if the question is current condition, like we're starting today,
Then no.
then the answer's for me. The answer is no. I personally think George could make it, but I really do.
Let's say you had 3 months camp and prep.
you would need more. But if you I'll speak for myself, George, you answer it. But if I would need a year, and I do. If you gave me a year, now I'd get in last place. I'd be the Lanterne Rouge. You'd have to avoid major accidents, crashes, all the bad luck. But if you could avoid that, I could make the time cut every day. Absolutely. If you gave me a year to train, 100%. And so could you. I mean, you would be. I would get last. You'd be 25% better than me in terms of the GC. Are you?
I don't. I mean, I feel like it's so far fetched.
Hang on a second. I'm Lance Armstrong, and you are George Hincapie.
Yeah, I guess a year training.
100%. Have you lost your mind?
I'm just laughing. I haven't disagreed or agreed. I'm just saying I don't know.
Clearly, you've never thought about it.
I haven't. No.
Well, I think about it all the time. I do. I think now. Here's the thing. I don't want to do that. I don't want to give up my life. Right. The life I led leading up to the 4th of July this year. Now, I regretted it after, but I had a hell of a good time. I don't want to give that up.
Yeah,
to finish the Tour de France.
Let me remind you of both of your reactions when they were on that windy bridge in Denmark.
Yeah.
You both were like, oh, God, I'm glad
You're
I'm
right.
not there.
You're right.
Oh, no way.
Well, that's, okay. But you got to race the course they give you. So, the other thing is it ain't going to happen. So we're just having fun with it.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's see. One more here. Oftentimes you and other commentators and experts touch on the point that the Tour is an extremely different beast compared to other races, even other Grand Tours. Average speed of the Peloton is a well-known difference, but for somebody who thoroughly enjoys nerding out on every little detail about cycling in the Tour, I'd appreciate it if you could speak on this a little bit. That's from Matthias Gemelgo. I'm taking a stab at his last name.
It's like any sport. You see sports at the early season. We'll just use hockey as an example. We talked about it yesterday. We just finished the Stanley Cup. I don't even know how many games they played throughout the season. Watch the intensity in the first quarter of the season, and then watch game 5 or 6 or 7 of the Stanley Cup. It's 10x. That's the Tour de France. Like and the Tour is 10x over the Giro, and the Giro's over the Vuelta. It's just. It is the sport. Yeah,
there's no doubt. The media coverage is bigger than any other race on the calendar. The amount of fans out there, money involved, the pressure that comes from the teams and the fans is greater than any other race on the calendar.
Think about it. I mean, now it's 16 teams that are now getting barked at by the director. Like, you have to go on the break. You have to win a stage. They don't say that at Paris-Nice. They don't say that at Dauphiné. They don't say that even at the Vuelta. They don't. Unless you're a Spanish team at the Vuelta, that's the Tour just brings all the pressure.
And then more on the line is you're this far in the season and you haven't had any successes. You're really feeling
for some of these teams that are facing relegation. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this is for all the marbles.
Cool. Any future questions? Send them our way. TheMove@wedo.team.
Thank you, and thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it, and we will not see you tomorrow. Rest day tomorrow. We're going to take a rest day. I'm going to be in the land of the lakes over there in Minnesota. Brainerd. Anybody got a good loop? Let me know. And we'll be back Tuesday.
Tuesday.